Check me out.
Yeah. Hey guys. Hey podcast listening people. As always, very grateful to have you here. Do not forget to do this for us before you leave today. This very small favor, leave a review on the podcast wherever you're tuning in, and do not forget to subscribe for future episodes. We're here each and every week to bring you the top insights, information, tools, tips, and tricks of the trade from the powerful entrepreneurship community that we have here in Colorado. And I have an amazing show for you guys today. Another incredibly power woman to the podcast, Danelle Delgado, who is one of the most highly regarded international speakers and training experts. She is a recognized influencer online, best-selling author, and elite mentor to really high-performing entrepreneurs in sales, marketing, and personal development. She is a cancer survivor, single mom, and out there just crushing it. She's worked and stood on stage with some of the highest level achievers like Grant Cardone, Les Brown, Darren Hardy, Tim Grover, and many more. And she has a really, really fascinating story. I have to give kudos to Danelle, someone achieving at her level as a single mom, and the amount of time she spends with her kids and the insight she provides. I really believe that she is going to change the lives of millions of people someday. And I'm honored to have had her on this podcast. I very much enjoyed it. I love her story that she shares, and you guys are going to have to listen. And for this, if you guys know who Grant Cardone is, if not, Google her story of getting connected with high-level achievers, which is a major premise of this podcast. And I would encourage you guys to never, ever be discouraged to reach out to those who are succeeding in the areas that you're interested in succeeding in. Go find those mentors. Go add value, provide value for them, and some amazing, powerful things are going to happen in your life. So can't wait to share with you guys. I've already gone back and listened to this a couple times. I hope that you will as well. Before we get there, real quick, if you're interested in partnering up with Mile High Mentors, with the podcast, sponsoring the show, collaborating in one way or another, it's something we're absolutely open to and interested in. So send us an email, milehighmentors@gmail.com. You can also give us a shout wherever you're hanging out on social media, and we can find what we can do to work together. We'd love to help partner up to impact our community in an even bigger way than what we're able to do on our own, right? Success doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens by partnering up with great people and great organizations. And real quick, by the way, if you sell products and services business to business, you probably realize LinkedIn, guys, it's the platform to be, but a lot of people don't know how to use it effectively to grow your reach, to bring sales in the door, to really build your business using that platform. Most people turn to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all this good stuff. So our partners over at Active Blogs are putting on a webinar. You can check it out, activeblogs.com/webinar. It's called The Missing Links to LinkedIn Success. Again, activeblogs.com/webinar. Go give that a watch. Okay, guys, without further ado, I am humbled. I'm honored to bring to you Danelle Delgado to the Mile High Mentors podcast. Well, listen, I got to give you a massive kudos because as a child of two busy entrepreneurs, the clear amount of time and energy and activities you bring your kids on is really, really impressive. And I want to congratulate you for that, because that's probably a major lackluster area for most entrepreneurs. And the fact that you're able to pull it off is amazing, just from, being on the other side of things.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, I think people get mixed up sometimes. Like, the reason we want to become entrepreneurs is so we don't miss those big things. But so many times, like even when I was a starting entrepreneur, I sacrificed everything because I thought that was the only way, right? And I missed a couple of things I knew I'd never get back. And I go, that's it. We have to build our businesses around our life, not our life around our business. That's the wrong way. And entrepreneurs sometimes get it wrong. Like, yes, you'll have to sacrifice a couple things, but you have to understand what you won't sacrifice more than what you will, right? Yeah. Thank you. They are my whole world, my reason why I even started this journey and wanted to be more than where I was. So,
yeah. Well, I guarantee your kids are going to be kick-ass entrepreneurs with.
I think they will be.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're going to impact a lot of people. I mean, just having a mother like yourself and the people you surround yourself with and are able to bring around them. And so that's great. And by the way, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I'm humbled. I'm really grateful you're here. You're one of another kick-ass power ladies we get to add to the roster of Mile High Mentors podcast. So thanks again.
Absolutely. I will always get back to Colorado. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Here. So
yeah. What is your favorite thing about Colorado?
The mountains, right? Probably two things. Number one, the mountains. I think, our physiology, our mental capacity is really built on having solitude, places where we can reflect in nature and those kinds of things. Like, I've just always gotten so clear when I go up to the mountains and I step back out of things and I take time to reflect. But I also think the people here, they're very grounded. They are very family oriented. They are kind. They serve people. It's been a really great environment to grow up. Mm-hmm. So I'm forever grateful. I think I travel the world, but this, I think, will forever be my home.
Yeah. So you grew up in Colorado, born and raised?
I did. I was born actually in La Junta, southeast Colorado. There's like 4 other people there.
Is that near Sterling area?
No, it's
that's more south.
Yeah, it's southeast. Even
that's like like flatlands out there. That's like you might as well be living in Nebraska at that point, right?
Yeah, it's a lot, but that's my family had a family farm out there, and it's most of my childhood memories are from there. I love it. You
saw a family out there?
Yep, I do a little bit. Most of them have either passed on or moved, but yes. Yeah. And then moved up here since like kindergarten, and then moved around a lot when I was little, but landed back here by 3rd grade and never left.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've traveled, I'm younger, but I've traveled to a lot of places all over the world. And it's like, no matter what, I could still always see myself settling here. And I get it too. Like, as a younger entrepreneur, I'm 24 years old, and I'm starting to realize the value of taking a step back, going camping for the weekend instead of just sticking your face in your computer and trying to get as much work done as you can. There's a lot of value there that I think we're now starting to talk about more as entrepreneurs, right?
Yes, 100%. How can you really capitalize on tomorrow if you don't take everything out of today? And there's a reflection and correction time that needs to happen every single day, right? What did I do right? What did I learn? What did I do wrong that I need to fix? And how do I use that to advance tomorrow, right? Every single day. And I think the mountains and outside and stepping away from electronics is really the only place you could hear that.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. So who are some of your biggest influencers before, when you're young, like growing up, before you were 18 even, like, were there some really inspirational people for you, or did that come later on in your life?
That's such a great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Like before I learned about personal development.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that my coaches and my teachers were great mentors to me. I was a competitive athlete growing up. And my gymnastics coach, Gary Glover, was
I heard you say athlete for a second.
Athlete. No, that would be a new thing. Haven't heard of that yet.
I was like, whoa, okay.
No,
I haven't heard that one.
But Gary was amazing to us. He, He taught us how to work through pain and work through and overcome our brains when we thought we couldn't do something, and how repetition is the mother of excellence. And, I think my ability to overcome and do even when I didn't think I could, as an athlete, was of utmost importance. And so that was one. I think I probably had a few teachers who, saw a little bit of talent in me or something, but I was pretty shy growing up. I never raised my hand in class. I didn't speak. I didn't,
For those of you that don't know Danelle or don't follow her on any social media platform, antisocial is probably the opposite thing that I would describe you as.
Right. But it all changed for me, which is crazy, right? Like, I literally run into people from high school and they're like, "You do what for a living? Like, who are you?" And I was like, I know it's crazy. But, growing up, when life happens and you don't expect it, you become open to all opportunities really quickly. And if I didn't find a way to find my own voice and learn a skill really well, I was just destined to kind of lose. And I think that all of us have that moment where we kind of decide, right? You have either you see somebody on stage or you see somebody doing something and you're like, I could do that. I feel like I could do that. I feel like there's more in me, right? And when you see that, you answer it one way or another. Yes, I'm going to, or that's crazy. No, I'm not. So I answered, yeah, that's crazy, but I think I can. And I'm going to figure it out. And so it was really kind of a puke and rally. Like, this is horrible hard. Oh my gosh, I threw up behind the curtain so many times before I started training on stages.
Did you really?
Oh, it was...
You're kidding.
My whole body shook. I had to learn techniques to keep my hands from shaking on stage. I did everything imaginable because I was like, oh, please just don't put me in the center of attention. I've lived my life to not be the center of attention. And I realized that I had a unique ability to reach people and help them see what they were capable of and action it, not just know what to do, not be motivated, but to actually take action and implement. And I said, you know what, if I don't get out of my own way, how many people are going to lose because I don't win? So it became about what I could do for others, and it became easier rather than going, it's all about me. Holy cow. Like, people don't care about us that much. Like, they don't care what we do. They care about what we can do for them. And so I just got out of my own way. I stopped caring what anybody said or thought, or when I messed up or flubbed on stage and stuttered the whole time. I just moved right through it because it was about the one person that I could impact and call them to be a person of value in the world.
But that didn't occur overnight for you.
No.
What was the transition to that point?
I think the first time that I really helped someone financially win, and it changed their family and their status and their kids' lives. And one of the parents got to come home rather than having two parents in the home, and they got to have an impact with their kids. I was like, holy crap. We got to help more moms. We got to help more dads. If we really want to make a difference in this world, we got to get parents around their kids, but I think the thing is I learned a skill. I did it for myself. Then I had to teach it. So then when I taught it and I saw that it was duplicatable, I went, I can teach other people how to do this. This is how I'm going to make a dent in the world. There's more money in the world. People can make it. They can be great people. They can make a difference. And so when I saw the impact I could have, everything changed for me. Because we all have doubt once in a while, right? Like, doesn't everybody know this? Why would they listen to me?
Every day when I wake up.
Yeah, well, you got to stop.
It's got to fleet through, Yeah. It's got to be just that instantaneous moment.
Yep. And we choose, right? We choose to say, okay, who's going to be the lucky one to run into me today? Or am I going to even get up and fight for it? So that was it. Once I knew I could help people do, you only have to, I think it's Mark Cuban who said, you only have to be right once.
Yeah.
And I was right. And I helped someone do it. And that was all I needed to erase all of those former patterns that maybe I can't, I don't know. Am I that important? Do I really have something different? And then I learned, I'm like, everybody has something different. Are you kidding me? Like, we're not carbon copies. Every single human has a different gift. It's just if you want to embrace it, study it, and share it.
Mm-hmm. And identify. Yeah, I think a lot of people have trouble identifying that even in the first place, even though they know they want to make the impact, they want to make a movement, but identifying what that actually is a massive challenge. What now? Did you go to college? If I recall, you did. Where'd you go?
I went to University of Northern Colorado in Green. And I actually went to nursing school. I did 3.5 years of nursing school, transitioned over and got my teaching degrees. I got one in science and one in middle school education, believe it or not.
Don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But that also probably plays in with you being on stage, right? Being a teacher probably helps a lot.
Yeah, it was a perfect warm up. Right? Because kids are more forgiving.
Are you sure about that?
Well, for me, because I loved middle schoolers because middle school was hard for me. Like, it was challenging for me to make friends, break out. I just wasn't comfortable in public. And so, I had friends from gymnastics, but I didn't have friends like that you meet at school very often. I just hardly spoke. So for me, teaching like science and health was a way to get in their worlds and just make a positive impact in their life. So I did that. Then I worked as the youth pastor. I built up a lot of a really big youth ministry, and I was kind of like still a kid, but had a great job, right? Like, let's go midnight tubing. Let's make an impact. Let's connect to who we are in faith and focus and, all these kinds of things. But I was still teaching. I was learning sales. I was figuring out how to get kids involved in a movement. And it's the same tactics and practices that I used to build a team of people who worked for me, right? I had 20 volunteers who volunteered 20 hours a week with me. I had 3 full-time staff. I built up a business in a church, and I learned how to move the world, right? I learned how to move kids. And I said, well, if I can move kids, I understand that I got to move their parents, right? If we really want to teach and educate and help people understand the world of personal development and that. So what I did, like, if for all those entrepreneurs who are listening who go, what's my skill, right? How do I define it? How do I become set apart? I started studying sales because everything is a sale in life, and I had to sell myself on me, other people. But I just started studying the language of it. I started, studying people, everything I could, and I became an expert in sales, marketing, advertising. I threw it out there online, and I think it's always about taking the next right step, learning, mastering as much as possible, taking the next right step, take the next right step, and then your talents kind of unfold before you, and someone will probably point it out for you before you see it. They'll be like, wow, you're really good at that. And you're like, I am. That's right, I am. That's what I'm selling. So it's that next right step process that you have to step before you can see the staircase type thing.
Yeah. I hear that from so many people that they just start attacking a basis of fundamentals, and then as you go, you refine. Like, you're refining your business, refining your thoughts on these, and then finding your niche that way through refinement. But I'm curious how you went from science and health to where you jumped straight from there to like helping people with financial freedom.
Right.
What occurred between that period of time that you got from influencing kids in church to influencing lots and lots of adults and even some of the influencers that most people know today? Right.
Still crazy to me, right? But what happened was my life completely caved in. I had everything that I wanted, right? That I thought I wanted. I had a family, I had kids, I had a dog, I had a house, right? I had the things that they tell us to accomplish. And crazily enough, I was like, okay, so I did everything they told me to do, and I'm not fulfilled, and something's missing. My marriage was struggling a little bit due to financials. And so I said, well, if anybody's going to fix it, that will be me, because I'm staying home with my kids. I was speaking on weekends and evenings, and I was speaking at youth and women's events and, doing that after the youth ministry part. And, it's interesting, once you get divorced, you're not like that invited back to churches and things, right? Like, it was kind of like, well, I kind of screwed up, it kind of sucks. And, it's not ideal to be in a place of leadership and have things not going well. So I understood that. I was a little mad about that, but I was like, well, I know I'm meant to move people and I have to make money. So I was actually introduced to network marketing, which I was adamantly opposed to.
As most people are,
yes,
because there is a negative stigma around it.
There is.
But
however, rather than that, they handed me a couple of books. They handed me Og Mandino's The Greatest Salesman in the World, the 10 Scrolls. You're supposed to read these scrolls, each scroll 30 days, 3 times a day for one scroll, right? And then the next 30 days is scroll number 2, right? So it's going to take you 10 months. And I fully engaged into it. I was like, this speaks so clear to me. I started reading Zig Ziglar. I started reading all of these famous salespeople who, Dale Carnegie, Think and Grow Rich. I got my hands on books, which is funny because I graduated college. I'm pretty sure I never finished a book.
I know, right?
Ever. I was that 42% that never reads another book after high school.
All you got to do is find the bullet points.
Right. Like, where's the Cliff Notes for these?
Would you go back to school? Like, would you encourage people to go to college if they are heavily interested in entrepreneurship, building a life like you have, you would?
Yep. Now, most people don't encourage. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, there's this movement, right, of don't go to school. I think your ability to be taught, your ability to go through that phase of life where you want to learn and you have the ability to try all different kinds of things and see where you win, that was something that I would never take back. I still go back to school. I still study. My goal is to get my PhD because take a look at this, okay? Yes, there are some entrepreneurs who go to the top who never went to college and everybody knows their name and they did really well. The majority of people need an edge, and my edge is that I am a hustler. I am an entrepreneur. I study books, but I also study. And I think it gives me an edge. If there's a competition and they look at me and what I've done in the entrepreneurship world, and they also look at my education, I win. So I try to become the greatest asset that I can be in this world. And I get it that you may have to go earn for a little while and take classes here and there or whatever it takes. I believe the more educated you are, the better you're going to do in this world. And it may not be, hey, you need to go because you're going to have to hit all of the things you have to. You got to take health. You got to take PE. You got to okay.
Well, that's the thing though. That's the thing. And it is interesting that say that again.
Prerequisites, they make you take all these things, but it's really just a test or don't, I'm saying make your own system that works for you. But yes, I am an advocate of education as well, because most humans are not accountable to themselves, and school makes you be accountable to learn and grow. And I think school made me have a pattern of learning that helped me have a habit created where I had to study, I had to learn. I may not have applied myself as I should have while I was in college, but I always knew that I could go to a book and find an answer.
Yeah.
So I am.
So interesting. It's so opposite to, you're right. Like the vast majority of entrepreneurs, people we've had on this podcast would say the opposite.
They would. All of them do. I think some people say it because that's what worked for them. Some people say it because it's cool and people want to hear they don't have to go to school.
Right.
People say it for me. I'm just telling you what worked for me. And I believe if someone's had some education, I can help them go farther. It worked for me. So I can't teach you what didn't work, and school worked for me.
Yeah. But I do like that you brought up the commitment to learning and learning how to learn. Cause I went through the school system. I got my marketing degree.
Awesome.
And came out of the school system, and I nothing that I was doing as a practitioner was applied in schooling, but learning how to learn and having, deadlines and setting deadlines and blah, 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 that is good. I'm just wondering if there's a way to do that without spending $50K a year to do it.
Sure. I didn't pay anything for school. Listen to this.
Yeah.
You also have to be creative.
Yeah.
Like there's two things. Okay, think about this. Realtors. Okay, all realtors have to go to school. Okay, they have to train. But do they learn about how to be a real estate agent from going to school?
Absolutely not.
No, but is it necessary? Yes. Why? Same principles apply to school. Okay, now for schooling, my sister went to all these expensive schools. My mom was a single mom, so she didn't have a ton of money. And so I knew if I was going to go to college, I actually wanted to go to college in California. I wanted to go to Point Loma University. Nursing school was amazing. But I applied for every single scholarship that was ever created. Like I literally was like, can I prove that I am 1/10 Indian to apply for this scholarship, right? So like I did. I had a very diverse background. I just studied my family. I studied everything. Now this was before the internet. Let's not date me too much. But I went through every filing cabinet at the counselor's office, applied. I got the Denver Broncos scholarship, Janus Fund scholarship. They paid for a lot of my school. I paid $3,000 to go to 5 years of college, got my degrees. Like they're like that process, nobody helped me with, right? So I learned how to find money. I learned how to learn. I learned how to try things and see what I liked, see what I didn't. I didn't go to classes that I didn't want to. Who cares if I got a D in anthropology? Okay, that like nobody looked at my transcripts after. It was
I like that face that you made after that too. For those of you guys listening, Danelle just made the most sarcastic face I've ever seen. It was perfect.
So, I just think, like, it gave me street smarts to become book smart. And
yeah, that kind of hustle to go to school for free. It's a wonder why you're so successful in your business now. It's almost like you're creative and ambitious in some ways and really like go after it. That's really interesting.
When people tell me no, I'm like, I'll show you a yes. I'm going to go for the yes, right? And so it was like, well, can you go to college? Well, can you, it's like the Denver Broncos. I got that scholarship. I had one really bad semester. We won't talk about that one. I think I found some.
We've all had a bad semester. It's okay.
College. Yeah. And so skip that one. I went to an extra, I can't remember if it was an extra quarter or an extra year. I think it was an extra year of college. Took me 5 years. And I wrote the Denver Broncos and Janus Fund. I said, hey, listen, thank you so much for supporting me the last 4 years. It's taking me a little bit longer. Is there any way you would extend my scholarship? I've continued to do community service and all of these kinds of things. And they said, yes, they paid for a whole nother year of my school. So most people don't ask. They don't ask. I think there's a way to do anything you want in this world if you just listen to smarter people. Right?
Well, what do you feel is keeping people from asking?
They don't know how. Fear. They're not trained. If we had personal development in every single school around the world and books, and we had kids reading Think and Grow Rich and the 4 Agreements and learning how to be their word.
I love that book. Nobody brings the 4 Agreements. My mom introduced me to that book.
Very hard, right?
Yeah.
Don't let anything hurt your feelings. And like, don't be offended. What? Like, right? Don't take anything personally. Are you serious? But it's those basics. Like, what if we were teaching kids how to handle money? We wouldn't have the struggles that we have. I didn't know how to use a credit card when I went to college. Like I was not educated financially. So all these things that we learn as entrepreneurs and we're like, oh, that just seems right. Why didn't I know this before? Well, why is it not worked into the education system? So for me, that's a big push for me is if I can get enough adults moving in my favor and enough big names, great. We're going to get all our training systems for free in education and schools around the world so that we can really turn this world around. What if we had, what if people quit putting all those labels like millennials on people and they actually just like, this is a generation of change. Let's give them books. Let's show them how, right? They spend so much time trying to categorize people where I'm like, I don't care what age group you're in. I care that you are here to make a difference and be an asset. I don't care if you're 7, right? Like, let's make a difference in this world. Sophie, my daughter, right? Most kids are like, what do you want to be when they grow up? And all of them are like Sophie used to always say she wanted to be a zookeeper. Then she's been around all my stuff and she's like, no, I want to own a zoo. And I'm like, Well, that makes sense. And so I got her on the phone with someone who actually owns a zoo. He's a professional former NFL player. And
Really?
he goes, no, you don't need money. Here's how you get charities and big groups to donate and sponsor. And you're going to need about this much money. So she started like mapping out a plan, and she's 10.
That's
and she
awesome.
wants to own the Denver Zoo. And I'm like, we might not be able to picky and choosy about the zoo, but sure, let's figure it out,
So she'll own a zoo by 15 then.
Right? So let's just figure
You
out.
could probably fit a zoo in that house, honestly.
Maybe out back I could. I have cows out here. They're not mine, but they're some.
I could see you out there in the early morning just going after it. It's hilarious.
Funny. I did do my lawn for like a little bit because I was teaching my son how to mow the lawn.
Oh.
Guys. Then I was like, Seth wants to learn how to mow the lawn. And so it's great, but when Seth goes to visit his dad and is not here, I'm like, oh, who's going to mow the lawn? Do I have to mow the lawn? That's a lot. But I do it, and I listen to an audiobook, and I educate. So
there you go.
It's good workout too. It counts as working out, right?
Say that again?
Does it count as working out, mowing the lawn?
Yes, absolutely.
My lawn, it does.
It depends if you're using a pusher mower or if you're sitting on a mower. Not so much.
Seth is pushing. I am pushing. It's the
only old school, right? It's not even gas powered. It's just
old school. Let's get this, buddy. He's a soccer player.
You make him break that shit afterwards too, don't you? You are such a mean mom. Actually, that's awesome.
Right? I figure whatever worked in my past, I should duplicate. Whatever I should change.
Change it.
Yep.
You mentioned, and again, this is like a major premise of this podcast, and why I wanted to start it is ego gets in the way a lot of the times of going to other people who are smarter than you for help.
Yeah.
And just even purely getting around really great people, ego, there's different dynamics to it. But how does somebody get around, continue to add value, and really like even start those relationships with high level people like Grant Cardone and Tim Grover, Brad Lee? What's kind of your formula behind that?
Yeah, you know what? Those are three of my great friends who've done so much for me. And people ask me that all the time, right? I did do a course on it for how I did it. But if you break it down, okay, it really becomes it. So many people they'll message people or they'll write them because they are accessible on social media, right? You can message them, you can get a hold of them. But if you want to get their attention, it has to be more than how can I add value to you, which is what they teach people to say. Okay, what it has to be is I have studied and learned and know you so well. I already know what you need. I'm going to go ahead and deliver it, and you will know my name. Right? So that's what I did. For Grant, I used his structure in his book, 10X Rule. I did what he said, and I got his attention. I sent them like a video a day for like 6 weeks. Interesting, creative, 30 seconds or less. I flew up in a plane and was like, this city needs you. Come on, Grant. Like I wanted him to come to one of my events. And they were like, who is this chick, right? Like I walked into a piano store, I rewrote the words to Piano Man, and I sang it to him. Anything to like creatively get his attention. And they kind of gave me a phone call like, oh, you're so sweet. Please stop sending videos. And so that's one.
This is his office that you're sending it to?
Before I knew him, right?
Yeah.
I figured out, I worked my way in.
How long ago was this now?
4 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago. And it happens fast, right? So that got me a little bit of attention. I got a sponsor to bring him in for a little small event. He just did a Zoom call. Then I continued. I shared him out. I did all this stuff. I won a coaching call with him. He ate me alive on live, like with all these people, ate my business alive. And where most people would be kind of a jerk in response, all I did was listen and apply. And I was like, no, thank you for being honest. I appreciate it. Thank you. And it was super humiliating. My face was red. It was horrendous. I shouldn't say that because then people are going to go Google it. It's nice.
What was the platform?
It was on his platform. It's still on. It's still up there.
On which, like,
GrantCardone.com. So it's like,
no, I mean, like, did you do it through Zoom or like you were in person with him and like
call? And he was on Periscope and Meerkat, and it was before Zoom. So it was like Periscope, Meerkat, or Facebook Live. And
don't tempt me.
Right? Oh yeah, I know. And I don't know if it's still up, but I think it is. And so it was an audio recording and a little video that they did on there, you know, and he really was like, well, that's not going to make any money. He's like, okay, so you built 3 6-figure businesses. Why are you building another one? That's stupid. And I was like, well, if I build 10 of them, then that'll be $1 million. And he was like, that's exhausting. I go, you're right. It is. And he's like, why would you not take one company that's really serving and create 6 figures in a month? You know, so he gave me all of these different ideas, but it was really embarrassing. And I took it to heart. 4 months later, I created a 6-figure day, and it was his birthday. And I recorded a video and said, Grant, on your birthday, I'm sure you're getting tons of gifts, but I think this might be the best one. I just wanted to say thank you for your book and your life. It has meant a lot to me. I did what you said. Because of you, I created my first 6-figure day. Here's what happened. And it was a shout out to his book and saying thank you that it taught me how to do that, and to him. And crazy enough, I was watching on Periscope all the guys at his office for his birthday. When he walks into his office, they were all, look, and I see up on the screen my face. They're going to play him the video. I actually got it to him. I got it to their staff. Their staff put it up on the video, and I got to watch him watch the video, and he got teary-eyed watching. And I just wanted to send a sincere thank you. And so from that point on, I did something that helped him, that showed him that, listen, I'm not just a fan. I am following. I am doing what you taught. Thank you. How can I serve you back? Do you see how that's a difference rather than just, how can I do something for you? As I got to know him enough that I know he wanted followers. He wanted to speak at live events. I paid for him to come speak at mine. You know, I did whatever it took. And to this day, you know, he gets a lot of flack for being wild and outrageous. And he has been unbelievably kind to me, always. To me, my kids, he gave me opportunity to speak at 10X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Now hold on, pause on that moment for a second, because you went from sending one of the most well-known sales trainers in the world videos of you cold for how long? How long were you following up with him?
I think 6 weeks. Yeah.
6 weeks to standing on his stage at one of the most, well-known sales events.
Yep. In 3 years.
Yeah. You guys that are listening right now, like really take a moment to let that sink in.
Yeah. It still takes a minute for me to sink in, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
But like, listen how crazy this is. I always wanted people around me who were remarkable, who knew the answers. I didn't want to spend any time with people who were average, who thought average, who doubted. I was like, I'm going to the people with the answers. And people were like, Danelle, you're thinking a little big, like, like you're just starting. They're not my friends anymore, which is hard to say, may sound ruthless, but I'll tell you what, you will never go anywhere with anchors. Never, never. And that they believe it, let them stay there until they see you rise, and they'll release their own. So I did that. Bradley helped. My audience helped. They all, hunted Grant. I taught them all how I did it. And Grant was like, all right, you're on. We love you. You'll do well. I sold like crazy. I built a massive following from there.
Yeah.
And, Bradley, to this day, my platform's on there with all of the giants in the whole world. And he continually does so much to me. I had written down in 2017, January, that my goal was to have lunch with Tim Grover. Tim Grover wrote Relentless. He was Michael Jordan's trainer. And
is awesome. Awesome.
So good. So I read the 10X rule and Relentless at the same time. Crazy enough. So that's what happened. You want to know how to explode your business?
Those two books will do it. They'll kick you in the ass completely.
Yes. So one of my friends was Joe. He was a professional athlete. And I had met him through network marketing, actually, before I started my own training company. And he trained with them and knew Tim. And I called him and I was like, hey, how do I get Tim Grover. And he kind of giggled and was like, Danelle, what are you up to next? You know, like he kind of just giggled and didn't really have an answer. Then he was like, well, let me see if I can help facilitate something, you know, and we did it. Nothing really happened, although Joe always does anything I ever asked. He's amazing to me too. And so I just had this dream. I was like, I just need to meet him and I need to tell him thank you. Because if you read that book and it talks about the dark side, I was always afraid that dark side of me was like the worst part of me, that part that was so hungry to strive and win and would just like crush, right? I was always told to silence that one and that was the naughty one and that was the bad side of me. And I read that book and Tim was like, this is what will make you come alive. You just have to like harness it in the right direction and use it for good. And anyway, it did so much for me. So I wanted to just have lunch with him. That was like a wild goal. When you talk about write down wild goals, how does that's like, Danelle, you're aiming high, right?
Right.
So I'm at 10X at the VIP lunch. I didn't even know he was going to be speaking there because I flew in from Australia in order to speak there. And I'm sitting down at lunch at the farthest table. I was the last one like in the room. There was no room. And all of a sudden I hear, are these seats taken? And I turn around and it was Tim Grover and his manager, Sherry. And I like turned white as a ghost. And he kind of looked at me like, are you okay? And I was like, Mr. Grover, nice to meet you. I wrote down in my journal that I was going to have lunch with you. And if you were here, I would like you to take this seat. Like it was something ridiculous. I don't even know what came out of my mouth. And like, I don't know, just started this budding friendship. And he said, you know what? You are amazing. I will be there front and center in the morning to watch you speak. And I was like, what? Like Tim Grover is going to sit front row at 10X to watch me speak. And I literally walked out on stage and he was the first face I saw and I about broke down. Like, you know, not a good time to break down, Danelle. Get your
right.
So
and this was the second growth con, right?
One.
Oh, this was the first one, yeah. But did you speak at the second one also?
I didn't speak at the second one. No. Yeah. So the first, so like he's there, I'm speaking. It was amazing. And, you know, totally. And now Tim has become like one of my greatest mentors. If you want to talk about who really, you know, he talks about on stage how people always want something from you. And if they're calling you, like rarely do you have people call you to just say, how you doing?
Right.
Anything I can do for you? Just go get him today. I heard him say that in a talk one time. And I was crazy because I wrote down, I'm like, literally, I think I probably have 3 people in my life who ever would just do that. Like I have a lot of remarkable people, I kid you not, like in my world, but most of the time it's, you know, we're doing something, maybe 5, I probably have 5, but I literally look at it and you know who always writes me and checks on me and gives me a swift kick in the ass when I need it? The one and only Tim Grover. Like, how does that happen? I just wanted to have lunch and the greatest mentor in the world now coaches me. Like, it's unbelievable. And he'll call and I'm like, everybody silence. I could be at a speaking event and I'm like, be quiet. It's Tim Grover. You're on stage. I'll answer the phone.
That is hilarious.
If he calls, I'll answer.
That's so funny.
You know, people, you can't just think, hey, I'd love to learn these people. I read their books. Like, go meet them. They're accessible to you.
Right.
If you really want a swift kick and to know how to do things, only ask experts. Don't ask someone who's doing it average. Why? Why would you want to repeat that? You know? And I just refuse to, I don't really hear no, ever.
That's funny how that works. I feel like that resonates completely well with me. Probably to a fault in a lot of ways.
That's me.
What's that?
You did that to me.
Did I?
It's hard to get a hold of and not nail this down.
Well, yeah, you're busy with Lindsay, but then I just picked up the phone and I called you. I was like, hey, we got to do this thing. You know, when can we make it happen? So
I didn't even have your number in my phone and I never answer it if I don't know the number, but I answered that day and it was you.
Even after the first video I sent you after our conversation.
Well, it came up as it wasn't like an unknown. It was like, you've talked to this person before, but I didn't have you on my phone yet. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's funny. Well, and Tim Grover too, he is accessible. Like I DM'd him on Instagram.
Sure.
Actually, this is funny. I can't believe I'm going to admit this to you, but I talked to Apollonia, who you know, and is awesome. She's total sweetheart. And she also hosts on Bradley's platform too, I believe.
Yep, she does.
Yeah. And she told me you were putting on an event. She said, I need to get you on the podcast, first of all. And she said, Tim Grover is going to be in town. I'm like, I want to get Tim Grover on the podcast while he's in town.
Yes.
So I borrowed credibility and said, I DM'd him on Instagram, said, hey, Tim, huge fan of your book. I heard from Danelle that you're going to be in town this week for Life Intended. I'd love to have you on the podcast. Let me know if it's a possibility or whatever. And he's like, hey, let me talk to my secretary. I'll get back to you. And he didn't have time to do it. But it's part of the reason why I got to do this remote time to time.
It's awesome. Well, keep going. You hop on there and tell him that I did a podcast and talked all about him today.
Yeah. Bragged all about him. I love his book resonated so well. So yeah, the two, if you want to get a kick in the ass, 10X rule. And now I'm Relentless. Yeah. And Relentless.
Good to great to unstoppable. And it really, anytime I need reminded of what I'm capable of, I'll pop on Audible. You know, it's funny though, because a different guy reads it. Mr. Grover does not read it out loud. And so when I first met him, I'm like, you can't be Tim Grover. That's not you.
I've been listening to you in my ears forever.
I pictured you different. Now
I know.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yes. But really, like for people who can't afford it and can't invest in themselves yet, there is a library available to you. Like single day, Google, YouTube. That's where I started because I couldn't afford to have big mentors. But I built an audience. I built a business that deemed respect. And then I used it to their favor and I shared it. You know, they're so respectable. They're so amazing. And you can tell really quickly the big dogs who really are good people and the big dogs who aren't. You know, use your intuition, use your brain. And those people who are really doing it right, they'll reach back out.
Absolutely. I think that's really important. What are, with your business is unique because it's not like you're not really delivering a product. You're not providing as much of it. I mean, you are service-based, but it's really information product in a way, right? Yes. So I'm building out a new company similar to that as well. And like what, and other people, how can they take a concept, something that they know can really impact people and help people? And it's not a product, it's not an iPhone, it's not, some tech product or something like that, and take that and like really expand that to a 7-figure, 6-figure business.
Right. Well, that's a great question. And that is what I teach people how to monetize their gifts, their idea.
Yeah.
Their goals. I do have, products online and those kinds of things where people can do that. But if you're really looking for an idea that you want to take it to 1 million, you do need input. Research is the greatest tool. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. You need a circle around you that can give you the right input. You need to be branded with excellence. Everything is marketing this day and age, and building a presence online and off is equally as important. But it takes some time. Like it takes a system. And if people think they can do it by throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks, they will lose extremely quickly. And so you have to take an idea. You have to foster it. It has to be branded according to you, according to the results that it brings. It has to be congruent with who you are and what you're doing in this world and everything that they can find online about you. There is no getting around that. You are a window.
Right.
And
transparency is...
Yeah. So there's a lot of tools and there's a system. I do things like take people from a mastermind to a retreat where I take them out of their environment to learn, and to really focus on their business. I think having the right information the right support team around you, circle, tribe, and distribution channel that matches the product is really the critical component. You have to get people used to paying you a progression, right? They pay you a little, they pay you some more, you've proved, and it's an honored, income. Like, people spend money on me because I've already proved for free that I have genius. They pay me some, I help them make money. They pay me a lot because I help them make a lot of money. It just makes sense. Like, people have to build trust. You can't go out there and be like, I am a genius, pay me $10 million. They're like, right?
Damn it.
Right? Yeah, sorry. But it's all finding you and finding, like, people say it's just solve somebody's problems. And I think it goes way beyond that if you want to build $1 million company.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
It's solve a problem, do it better than anybody else, do it in a way that there's no competition, do it in a way that collaborates with others or builds to their bottom line as well. Win-win relationships. There's a whole system that I use to train people for sure, but those will get you started. Yeah.
So concept, pressure test, and one of the best not shortcuts, but ways to streamline to your success is hire great people like you who know the formula to take from concept to monetary idea, monetary product.
Much easier borrowing someone else's experience than paying for your own.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's true. I mean, it's something that I'm trying to learn and grasp myself. Like, you want to, as a entrepreneur, as a business person, someone who's really ambitious, you want to like pave the path unpaved. What's the term for that?
Path less traveled by.
Yeah, something like that.
Your own path, right? You want to make your mark. But I'll tell you, you either make millions by your own idea that has the right team around it, or somebody else's idea that you did it better. That's a secret right there.
So you'd encourage that also, get around other people with great ideas that you can get involved with instead of having to start your own thing from scratch.
I think once you prove yourself as an asset in the marketplace, collaboration then becomes the key to wealth. Yeah. Because you've proved your point, but that's the whole deal is people do business with those who increase their odds of winning. And if you don't go prove that you're going to help them win, then you've got a problem. Then you're just going to be hustling and selling as opposed to I'm an obvious asset. Choose me.
Right. As we're wrapping up here, what's something that people don't ask you very often, or you wish people would ask you, or they never ask you that they wish they would? I kind of worded that a little weird, but I think, something that people don't ask you, or they ask you not frequently, that you wish were asked of you more often.
Right. I think it's a good question. Let's see. Probably would have to do with, behind the scenes, what does it really take? What does it look like? Personally, professionally? I think people are afraid to ask some of the hard questions because if they really knew how hard it was, they might not want to do it. Right? I think if people knew all the things I had to overcome, like how do you build a business while you have cancer and you don't tell anyone? How do you overcome divorce and trial and fighting for your kids and giving half your money away in that? And, people don't know those things. And I think sometimes they see my life and I inspire them. But if they really knew the whole deal, they would find a whole new level of themselves, So I think sometimes I don't share all of the hard because I think it will discourage people if they really knew how hard it was. That, some days you still want to quit, right? Like, I
don't agree with you. I think that, I think that it would empower people much more because you said it yourself.
More forward with people and you sort people quicker about what it's going to take. But the thing is, you have to Like, here's the thing. Can you imagine Tim Grover giving me some advice, and do I always like it? No. Is it sometimes very hard? Yes. Is it the best advice?
If it's coming from Tim Grover, I could only imagine.
Right? Is it the best advice I could ever get? Yes. Doing it is sometimes almost killer. And, you know, the thing is that I think the hardest battle people are up against is self-doubt. And if they really wanted to know how to do it, well, then I'd spend every Friday Night Live teaching them how to overcome themselves. That's the number one skill. Like, if you haven't gotten enough from this podcast about how many things I overcame in an unusual fashion, like, everything is overcomable. I don't think that's a word, but you know, you can overcome anything. You can solutionize anything, and any thought, moment, second that you have that's against that, like, just quit, because you shouldn't have a thought in your mind, a doubt in your mind that you're not going to win. Like, I don't doubt. I don't do doubt. I don't let other people around me do it. I'm like, stop talking. Do you want a solution or not? Like, come to me with a solution. I'll help you fix and adjust it. But for me, doubt would have killed me. It would have made me quit on cancer. It would have made me quit when I was losing in divorce court. It would have made me quit serving people when I had haters online who were horrible. You know, like, come on. Like, you have a gift, you freaking use it. That's it. Like, don't doubt. Don't doubt. There's always a way. There's always someone willing to help.
Yeah. What's that tweet? Because everyone has their own. So doubt, it feels like that kind of pillar phrase for you. Even from the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about doubt. What's the key thing to shift your mindset on doubt?
Yeah, training your brain, right?
Yeah.
But I think I always say you have to fact your life, not feel it. I immediately go straight to the facts. Well, I've helped this person. My skills are amazing. I've done this. So any feeling that I have aside of that is a lie. Put it to bed. So whenever you do that, I think it's always go to the facts. Go to the facts. Quit messing around, letting your brain go anywhere, letting fear, letting doubt, I'm not enough, comparing yourself to another. That's just stealing your magic moments. And so for me, I'm a fact person because I needed something to disprove it. Maybe it's because I taught science, but so it's a theory.
Oh, that's an interesting,
right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, go to the facts. Go to the facts. They're irrefutable. There are metrics that are unbelievable. I've done what nobody does in a very short amount of time. And so prove me wrong. You can't. I already did it. Let's go. You know? And
with that fuel, what's a big end goal for you? Like, where do you see yourself at the end of the line?
I mean, my goal is really to help create 10 millionaires a year personally. That's just a personal goal. Make 10 people who are willing to use their skills, give back to this world. And in the end, I would like to get personal development, wealth building principles into our education systems. So if I can make a big enough noise in the business world, it will move into the education field, as I have a degree there, as I'm very involved in my kids' school, as I'm doing as many things as I can. We've started one in Life Intended Australia kids already, with a young 16-year-old who came to me to the business thing and was like, I'm doing this, I'm a chef, I'm this. And Ben Warhurst has started that over there in Australia. It will move to all the countries. And I mean, like, it's got to be a big wave. I want my kids to have a future. I want more kids buying zoos and building businesses. And even if they have a job, which is nothing wrong with being a professional, that they are educated to be an asset at whatever point that they are. You know, there's no reason a single kid in the world needs to not believe in themselves or be whatever they were raised to be. That's just ridiculous. Yeah.
That was awesome. How can people get into contact with you, find you? Wait, no. Just start sending Danelle videos nonstop. If you hear this and you want to get in contact, I'll send you Danelle's phone number and just start sending her videos for 6 weeks straight.
You're officially blocked. No. No, Facebook. I do all of my own social media. I believe that. That's how I stay in touch with my customers and clients. So Facebook, if you go to facebook.com, Danelle Delgado, Friday nights, every night from 8 to 9 p.m. Mountain Time, I do a free hour training and give back, share it out, contact me there. And let's see how we can make a dent in the world together.
I've snuck in on some Friday night lights. It's a good time. Yeah, yeah. Danelle does incredible. And again, thank you so much for doing this. I really hope that you guys took away even a small fraction of what I did with this podcast. I'm going to go back and listen several times over, I'm sure. And so be sure to get in contact, follow Danelle. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review while you're here listening. It's always very helpful. And we'll chat with you guys next time.